Hello Atypical, how are you guys doing? Now this is my season 2 review of Atypical. I've been meaning to do this review for a while, however I just haven't gotten around to it. But I'm glad to be here today talking to you about Atypical season 2. I have talked about Atypical in the past and I'll leave those videos down below for you guys. But if you are a return subscriber, then welcome back. It's so great to see you. But if you're brand new, this channel talks about autism as I try to raise awareness through my videos and just talk about my experiences. And if it sounds like your cup of tea and you would like to stick around, then definitely consider subscribing down below and turn the notification bell on so you do not miss a video. So this is my review of Atypical season 2, and really I've got to say overall I enjoyed this series. I enjoyed it more than season 1. I felt there really wasn't any positive talk about autism and there was very little diversity in the representation of autism. However, I'm really glad that Atypical has really listened to the autistic community and showed us different aspects of autism. And this representation is really prevalent when he goes to a peer group in school. This was the best part of Atypical for me, that there was actual representation, and this was something that I was concerned about in the first series, that they just didn't have any representation. Also, Sam as a main character, I don't know how to describe this without sounding bad, but I felt that Sam was a bucket of symptoms. Like, he was a living embodiment of autism and all of the different traits and behaviors and everything like that. Like, I just felt like he was a representation of autism. However, I felt that there wasn't a personality behind the autism, if that makes sense. I could relate to some of the problems that he had in season 1, but I just didn't really relate to him as a person, if that makes sense. However, there is development with Sam, and this is something I'm really happy with. He was actually making decisions for himself. He was actually wanting independence. So for me, it was brilliant that Atypical showed this, that autistic people can be independent, you know, with the right level of support if they need it. That part of the show, I thought they did really, really well. I think it's really important to say though that Sam as a character isn't a full representation of autism. Frankly, anyone who is autistic, we can't fully represent the entirety of autism. It's just impossible because of how diverse the spectrum is. But I think that Atypical has actually done a good job here with season 2. Season 1 they did absolutely terribly, I think. It was very educationally based, which I thought was good. However, like I say, I felt it was a bit off in season 1, but in season 2 they fixed a lot of the issues that we had as autistic people, and I personally had, like my concerns from season 1. I felt like a lot of them had been fixed on the autism side of things, so that was really great to see. Another positive, I love the character of Zaid. Zaid didn't see Sam as just an autistic person, he just saw him as a person, which I thought was very normalising and very, very good. In season 2 we actually got to see Zaid actually develop as a character, and that for me was quite interesting, how he wanted to be a nurse previously, and you could actually see with his interactions with Sam, like, he does have a very caring nature, and that was something I thought was quite interesting that they explored with Atypical this year. One of the talking points from Atypical that I wanted to talk about in this review is the Autism Awareness courses, like the idea of talking to first responders, talking about autism and how to handle someone with autism. That was very important, and I really do believe that first responders like the police, the fire brigade, you know, people who work for the ambulance service or in hospitals really do need to have some level of awareness of autism, especially since they're going to be out in the community. And I think this is something that needs to be done more in the US as well as the UK actually. I think it's just something that should be a standard. Also, I felt that Atypical was just more positive about Sam and his future. Like in season 1, it really felt like to me, if you have autism then you don't have a future. That's what I took away from season 1, but they were more positive and really talked about the future of Sam. Like, yes, he may have difficulties in the future, but so does everyone growing up. And I think this was something that was done really well. Now, I want to talk about some of the cons because there are still quite a few, not because of the autism side of things really, but it's more to do with the story and the plot and some of the other characters. So the first real con I want to talk about is the affair, the after effects of the affair from season 1. Oh my god, I hated this storyline so much. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it was important for Sam's development as a character. I felt like it was the main focus, and like I can understand why it was the main focus, because obviously it's a massive thing and it really affects the family dynamic, but like I say, I just didn't really care for it. And actually that leads me on to my other con, Elsa as a character. In season 1, I actually stuck up for Elsa because I understood her protectiveness of Sam. Like, her character I thought was okay, like I didn't think it was terrible. In season 2, I just thought her character was just completely terrible. I wished she wasn't there at all because she just frustrated me. Like, she had an affair and then expected to have everything go on as normal. And that kind of frustrated me because it's just like, you had an affair, so it's like you've kind of shut the door on yourself in a way. But I will say though, it was actually quite nice that they did this in a sense, even though I didn't like it, because it shows how people without autism can struggle with change after a massive event. So I think from that aspect, that works well, but as Elsa as a character, I really did not like her in this series. The ending with Casey, I like Casey as a character. I love Casey as a character, I really do. Like, I do really relate to her in a lot of ways, and her relationship with Sam is excellent, especially in season 2. But the ending, guys. So those are my pros and cons. I do have 1 or 2 points where I think it would have just elevated Atypical season 2 even more. So in season 2, I think it would have been really good if they brought in a autistic character played by an autistic actor or actress who basically says, I'm autistic, I go to university, yes it was a struggle, but it is possible. I think that would have really elevated Atypical even more, to really emphasize the point that just because you are autistic does not mean you are going to struggle throughout the course of your life all of the time, if that makes sense. Like, you can make something for yourself. So I think if they did that, that would have been really, really good and really forward thinking actually. That would be the only thing I would really add to season 2. I think if there is a season 3, and I do really hope that there is in a way, because I kind of want to see what happens with Sam, especially since he's going to be going off to college. I think one of the things that I would like to see would be Sam making friends with an autistic character in college, whether it's like a roommate or something like that. Like, my friend Connor Ward did mention this in his review, which I'll leave down below of course, because why not? It would be nice to see another autistic character be friends with Sam and really show the differences between the two, to really emphasize that people on the spectrum can be different from one another. And I think another thing that would be quite interesting to see in Atypical season 3 would be an adult diagnosis. I think it'd be really forward thinking to see an adult or a young person being diagnosed with autism. Because to me, when I've watched Atypical season 1 and season 2, it really doesn't really show adults being diagnosed with autism. Like, Sam was diagnosed as a kid, and you've got kids that were diagnosed as kids, and really there wasn't any talk about adults being diagnosed with autism. It would just raise that awareness that adults can be diagnosed with autism at a later point in life. So for me, that would be really interesting, and also it would just further validate autistic diagnosis in adults, really. That would be one of the main things for me in that regard. But anyway guys, what did you think of Atypical Season 2? What were your pros, what were your cons, and also what things would you like to see in Atypical Season 3 if it gets commissioned? It'd be really great to hear your thoughts down below in the comments and just have a further discussion about Atypical. But for now guys, if you enjoyed this video then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below and turn on those notifications. Stay you, stay indie. I hope you have a really great day guys, and I'll see you all very soon. See you later guys.